and tuberculosis in Maldives. The government should proceed.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Nasma Abdul Mohsin and this is News in English. President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum launches the National Strategic Plan to end tuberculosis in Maldives.
Tuberculosis is a disease caused by a bacteria called Mycobacterium tuberculosis. The bacteria usually attack the lungs, but they can also damage other parts of the body. Tuberculosis spreads through the air when a person with the bacteria coughs, sneezes or talks. In the past 3 years, Maldives has succeeded in eliminating communicable diseases. In the efforts to eliminate tuberculosis in Maldives, President Yamin today launched the National Strategic Plan to end tuberculosis in Maldives at a ceremony held at Hotel Jen. Addressing the function, a resident representative of the World Health Organization to Maldives, Dr. Arvind Mathur, congratulated President Yamin for becoming the first head of state in the Southeast Asia region to launch a national strategic plan to end tuberculosis.
It's my great honor and pleasure to witness this momentous occasion, and on behalf of Regional Director Dr. Poonam Khetrapal Singh of WHO and on my own, take this opportunity to congratulate His Excellency President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum for being the first head of the state in the Southeast Asia region to launch a national strategic plan for eliminating tuberculosis since the health ministers of the Southeast Asia region signed and launched Delhi Call for Action in March 2017.
Dr. Arvind Mathur lauded the deep interest and unwavering support of President Yamin towards provoking interests of the people for public health issues.
Your presence is an indication of your deep interest and unwavering commitment towards provoking people's interest for such public health issues, and is a testimony to yours and your government's deep commitment to rid the Maldives of tuberculosis, which otherwise is still a major killer globally and in the Southeast Asia region.
Moreover, the resident representative noted that Maldives is an example of universal health coverage in its true sense and action.
Maldives is a shining example of universal health coverage in its true sense and in action, with highest GDP expenditure on health in the region of more than 9%. Your Excellency, investing in TB is a great value for money, as for every US dollar spent, there is $43 in return. Given such high return, it would be prudent for me to advocate for higher allocation to make tuberculosis elimination a reality in the Maldives.
On conclusion, Arvind Mathur applauded the leadership of Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim for the continued contribution in mobilizing and partnering with institutions in health-related programs. Speaking at the function, the Health Minister said the milestone is achievable and has been proven within the past few years with the successful elimination of diseases such as malaria and measles. According to statistics, more than 10 million people were diagnosed with tuberculosis in 2016 worldwide. The government of Maldives aims to become the first country in the Southeast Asia region to eliminate tuberculosis.
President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Qayyum underscores that it is his constitutional duty to uphold the rule of law as the president. At the function held by Progressive Party of Maldives (PPM), President Abdullah Yamin stated that it is the duty of the head of state to promote compliance of the state and to promote the rule of law as per the Articles 115A and C of the Constitution, noting that a president is always accountable to his people. Defying claims made by some individuals representing the opposition that the declaration of state of emergency is illegal, the president noted that it is a constitutional power of the president to declare a state of emergency when the national security was threatened. The president noted that the position of the president was the most vulnerable position, as the constitution states how the incumbent president could be removed from office. The president pointed out that bringing about a coup was a crime and spoke on the importance of letting a legitimate administration complete its term for the stability and harmony of society. Furthermore, the president affirmed that individuals who fled Maldives disregarding the constitution do not have the right to protest any claim to protect the constitution. Highlighting the Supreme Court of Maldives is entrusted by the constitution with the obligation to guard it, the president cited the recent rulings of the Supreme Court of the Constitution, reiterating his firm commitment to ensure peace in the country. Maldives extends condolences to the government and the people of the United States following the deadly shooting at a high school in Parkland, Florida, killing young children and causing injury to many. The Maldivian government noted that it received the news of the shooting with deep shock. Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Muhammad Asim sent a message of condolence to the government, including the families of the victims. According to authorities, 2 others of 13 individuals are arrested and in detention in relation to the ongoing investigation. Deputy Permanent Representative to Maldives says corruption is nullified in all PSM and resolve the current political situation.
Permanent corruption cases have been identified from most institutions in the permanent representative's time. They all come together to sit down to de-escalate the situation. Salim Wahid cited that all previous attempts of the government due to lack of cooperation from the opposition. He said the current political situation is creating irreversible damages to the country.
The politics of Maldives is the politics of personalities. It depends on the will of our political leaders. If they're willing to come and sit down, if they're willing to talk without preconditions, if there is no dialogue, how are things ever going to get better? You know, the way in which we exist, the way in which political power, and unless people are willing to talk, then we're not going to move forward at all.
The opposition is always scheming to convince supporters that there is something wrong in the country or the administration, as they assume such acts would keep their prominence in the society. He concluded by emphasizing that all Maldivians must prioritize nationalism over individual political views for the benefit of the country.
Chief Executive Officer of Treetop Hospital Grant Model reveals the world-class healthcare facility is all set to be inaugurated by the end of this month. With its inauguration, Treetop Hospital would mark history by becoming the first multi-specialist healthcare facility in the Maldives.
The development of the health sector is one of the prime focuses of the administration, and under the objective, the development of a tertiary-level hospital in Hulumale was an electoral pledge of President Abdullah Yamin Abdul Gayoom. One of the major aims of developing a tertiary-level hospital of Malaysia contracted to after touring of conducted to begin Asan the health
experience with the in the country and how we're going to be in the coming weeks.
Of $80 million is the largest in the healthcare sector and is expected.
According to statistics, goods worth more than $245.9 million were imported during January 2018, whereas the figure was recorded at $207 million in January 2017. According to the statistics, in January 2017, the total revenue collected through customs duty and other fees and fines in January 2018 showed an increase of 23% compared to January of last year. A total of $17.9 million were collected through import duty and fees last month. China says U.S. President Donald Trump's weighing of possible options to address steel and aluminium imports with tariffs and quotas would damage global trade.
On Tuesday, U.S. President Donald Trump said that he was considering a range of options to address steel and aluminium imports that he said was unfairly hurting U.S. producers. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Gang Shuang said the world economy was recovering and all parties should cherish the momentum and send signals of cooperation and mutual benefit. Presented last month by the U.S. Commerce Department in Peddler Section 232 investigations, into whether import restrictions on steel and aluminium are needed to protect national security. The probes were authorized under the 1962 trade law that has not been invoked since 2001. Steelmakers recently urged Trump to take bold action to reduce steel imports to curb global excess steel production capacity, largely in China. A Chinese government think tank warned earlier that unreasonable U.S. trade actions on steel will be met with countermeasures under the World Trade Organization rules.
International charity Save the Children says more children than ever before are living in conflict areas.
In 11 million children, or 1 in 6 worldwide, which is an increase of 7 children. Other threats include abduction and sexual violence. Chief Executive of Save the Children said the charity are seeing a shocking increase in the number of children growing up in areas affected by conflict of violence imaginable. The former Prime Minister of Denmark said children are suffering things no child ever should, from sexual violence to being used. According to the report, United Nations figures show more than 73,000 children have been killed or maimed in 25 conflicts, since gone up by almost 300% in conflict zones. In situation for increased fighting in towns and cities and the growing employment of youth as suicide weapons such as barrel bombs. It said those in Middle East are most likely to be living in the children in the region, followed by Africa, with 20% living in war-torn areas.
And Syria, in and of itself, to the evidence that proves that children are really much more vulnerable in conflict than any other time in the past 20 years. So if you look at the situation in Syria going into its 7th year, new lows in terms of the children in conflict.
According to a deal signed, the United States will provide Jordan with more than $6 billion in aid during the period from 2018 to 2022.
According to the Memorandum of Understanding, which was signed by U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, Jordan will get 1.0 annually. U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said the new grant represents an increase of $275 million over the previous deal. Tillerson noted that Jordan plays
$5 billion per year.
Mr. Ayman Safadi said the memorandum, which outlines areas of critical cooperation in the economic and defense sectors, will support justice. Safadi said the deal is the third between the two. Refugees from 14 from Palestine. One
receives pledges of $30 billion mostly in credit facilities and investment from allies, but this fell short of the $88 billion Baghdad says it needs to recover from 3 years of war.
Amir Sheikh Sabah Al-Ahmad Al-Jaber Al-Sabah said at the gathering that Kuwait, the host of the Kuwait International Conference for the Reconstruction of Iraq, promised to provide $1 billion in loans through its Kuwait Fund for Arabic Economic Development and committed another $1 billion as investments. Iraqi Foreign Minister Ibrahim Al-Jafri told media at the news conference that the pledges made at an international aid conference to rebuild his country were less than what Iraq requires. Donors and investors gathered in Kuwait City to mull ways to rebuild country's economy from erroneous conflicts with IS militants who seized almost a third of the country before being beaten back. The three-day meeting brought together several economic powers as well as regional and international organizations will touch upon needed contribution to rebuilding Iraq after many years of war and conflict ripped through various parts of the country. According to Iraqi officials, damage to the infrastructure alone caused an estimated loss of $50 billion.
Paris Saint-Germain spent €400 million on Neymar and Kylian Mbappe last year, but it was Real Madrid's bargain signing Marco Asensio who stole the show when Real beat the Parisians 3-1 in Showcase Champions League last 16 first leg.
That his team have to be focused and ready for the upcoming set. He suffered a hit by Barcelona last season after losing the second leg of their tie 6-1. The signing of Neymar from Barca for the world record €222 million looks like a statement of the intent to make their mark on this season's competition. The Brazilian has scored 28 times for PSG, but was less effective in their biggest game so far and picked up an early yellow card for the fallen Real defender, Nacho Fernandes. Mbappe will cost Qatari-backed club 180 million euros when his loan deal from AS Monaco expires in June. He forced the opening goal scored by the Adrien Rabiot. PSG coach said his side has been unfortunate and criticized referee for awarding Real a penalty. PSG President Sheikh Nasser Al-Khalifi also criticized the decision made by the referee and asked UEFA to take measures.
I'm not going to repeat every time, last year we had the same with Barcelona, this year against Real Madrid, they need to stop now, Okay, we are not Real Madrid, but, they need really to stop. 2 yellow cards is not yellow card, offside of Mbappe is not offside, come on, I'm not saying that we lost because the referee, to be very clear, but this small details, it helped big team like Real Madrid, they feel that the referee is with them. And our players, they've been blocked. They're scared to have yellow card because he was like waiting the opportunity to give yellow card, red card. That's what he want to do, and this is really not good for the football European. And UEFA need to do something.
And that's all we have for you right now. Thank you for watching. Have a very pleasant day.